Please be seated, everybody. We're getting that. Good morning, everybody. Can everybody hear me with this Mickey Mouse thing on? Right. Welcome to this meeting of Middlesbrough Council. We make a start. Apologies for absence.
Apologies from Councillors Cook, Goodchild, Morstan, Udin, McTighe, Wilson, Nugent and Dean.
Right, thank you very much. Declarations of interest.
Chair, Councillor McIntyre as well, please.
And Councillor McIntyre.
Right, declarations of interest. Anybody? No? Right, can we do the minutes of the last council meeting, which was the 9th of October? Can we agree them as a correct record? Can we get somebody to second that?
Just need Councillor Hill adding to the attendance. Just need Councillor Hill adding to the attendance.
Right, okay. Can somebody second the minutes? Are we? Right, thank you very much. Right, agenda item 4, announcements and communications. We make a start, as we do. The council meeting is a business meeting of the council. Members of the public are welcome to attend and listen to the debates. They are not allowed to call out or disrupt the meeting. Second thing is, it is with deep regret that I have to inform you of the death of former councillor Maureen Watley. Maureen was councillor for the Caird Award from 2007 to 2011, was a member of the Planning Committee, the Older Persons Partnership and Social Care Scrutiny Panel. Please could you stand and join me in a minute's silence to remember Councillor Maureen Watley. Thank you very much. Thank you. We'll proceed now to agenda item 5, which is the Mayor's statement and report.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Happy Christmas to everyone who's here and who can't make it and who might be watching on Facebook and stuff like that. I'm going to give you a little overview of what we're going to be working on in 2020, which is just around the corner. It seems unbelievable, doesn't it? But it's just around the corner. First of all, we're going to really push on and focus on green issues. This is absolutely critical. It's important that we do our bit for the country and the world, but it's also important that we show leadership. So we're going to be coming up with some really interesting stuff there, and details coming very soon. We're going to make Middlesbrough safer. We're going to make the streets safer. It's not going to change 180 degrees overnight, but we're starting to correct bad behavior. We're starting to make people feel like there is some justice and bad behavior gets penalized, and that's going to really step up in 2020. In January, that's really going to kick in. I want to make us financially sounder. You know, we're talking about the budget later, and it's on everyone's mind. And somebody said to me, someone said, what about boroughs like Kensington and Chelsea? They have fantastic services and they have tiny council tax. What are we doing wrong? Well, of course, you cannot compare our situation with theirs, right? We have got a bad deal. We've got to live with that. And what we've got to do is grow our income. We've got to grow our income. We need more money coming in. That's not easy, but we've got to get more businesses paying rates. We've got to get more businesses into town. We've got to get more people living in town and paying council tax and shopping in the shops, but in the right places. And that's not going to happen overnight, but we're starting that now. I'm going to see more of that. We're going to talk about the budget, and we're going to talk about balancing the budget and what we can and can't do. It's going to be a big feature early next year, lots of debate. The last thing I want to talk about is Christmas, and it's a time for friends and family and time off work and food and drink of all kinds. And some people don't have anywhere to go or people to mix with, and some people might not want to mix with others, but those that do feel a bit lonely. There are a range of places, so some really kind people and places in this town, and I'm going to list them later today on Facebook. So if anybody's thinking today, tomorrow, what can I do on Christmas Day? I'm going to list some really kind, friendly places you can pop down, you can eat, you can share some fun and have a really nice day. And that's it from me for now.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Does anybody want to ask Andy any questions? Councillor Story?
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to also extend Christmas best wishes to everybody in Middlesbrough on YouTube and watching elsewhere. I won't say very much. I think a lot of what the Mayor said is very, very sensible. Green issues are tremendously important, and we need to take that forward. I think we'd all like to see our streets be safer, and I think obviously the Mayor's introduced his PSPO, which is having its impact in the town centre. But I think one of the things we need to be wary of in terms of that particular policy is moving issues on, because I know colleagues have referenced how some of the issues that were happening in TS1 have moved slightly further out of the town centre and moving into other wards. And I think we need to make sure that everybody has a safe community and environment to live in. And that might be something that needs to be looked at in the new year. The last thing I wanted to mention is the Mayor mentioned the budget there. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about that later in the meeting. One of the things he did reference was that we get a bad deal from government, and he's right about that, and I'm glad he said that. But he also said it's something we have to live with, which I fundamentally disagree with. We don't have to live with it. What we have to do is fight against it, and we have to say that it is wrong, and we have to stand up for the people of Middlesbrough who need a better settlement from this government. They've been elected with a comfortable majority now. So what we need to do as a council, and what the Labour Party and the council will always do as the last line of defence for the most deprived wards in this town, is to stand up and say this government settlement to this town is a disgrace, and it has been for 9 years, and it has to stop. We need to bring that to an end, and we need to be properly funded. And I would like to see the Mayor, and I would like to see all elected members on this council stand up and say it is not acceptable that Kensington and Chelsea get a better settlement than we do, because Kensington and Chelsea is an affluent area, and they get a better settlement because it is politically expedient for this government to do that. And we need to say that is wrong. The settlements for local authorities should be based on deprivation, they should be based on need, and we need a better settlement. And it is not something that we want to live with, it's something we want to stand up against.
You want to respond?
Yeah, thank you for that. I agree with a lot of what you said, but I'll restate what I said, is that there isn't a lot of point, right? Almost 0 point in us complaining. Listen, I'm 53, right? I can't believe I'm saying that. I'm getting so old. But I'm 53, and all of my adult life, I've heard Middlesbrough councillors complaining about the bad deal we get. And do you know what? I'm close to using the F word, but I'm not going to. It makes all difference. Basically, what we need to do, of course, invest a bit of time challenging government and push our MPs to that. What we need to do is work out positive ways forward. We need to expend our energy working out how to grow our income and look after people better. We can't just be a group of people that complain and say life's not fair. Thanks.
Nobody else? Right, we'll move on to agenda item number 6. Deputy Mayor and Executive Members' Reports. Well, for some reason today we seem to be very light on questions. We've only got 7, so we'll actually get the bit of luck, we'll get them all done. So the first one is for Councillor Anthony High, and that's from Councillor Story.
Yeah, I note that Councillor High's referenced Purder in his report, and he's also referenced in that section of the report the recent general election. So what I'd like to do is to congratulate the members of Parliament who were elected, Simon Clark, and also Andy MacDonald. I work in Andy's office, and it was great to see Andy re-elected. I'm sure we'd all like to congratulate the members of Parliament for their election victories. And it was good to see Labour so thoroughly endorsed in that general election in Middlesbrough, again showing that we are the last line of defence in this town against cuts and against this government. And Andy is looking forward, I can speak on his behalf, and I am as well, through working in his office, looking forward to representing the people of Middlesbrough and standing up and doing the work of the people of this town through that good office. It is a little bit rich for the Deputy Mayor to reference Purder, I think, because I had to complain to the returning officer as the election agent 3 times about campaign videos that were filmed in his town hall office, which is completely and utterly against the rules. I mean, to do it once, I presume, would be an error, but to do it 3 times suggests either he didn't understand the advice, perhaps he needs some more training, or he willfully broke the rules. I'm not sure which it is. Perhaps he could answer that question. There was also banners around the town which were illegal and breached planning regulations, so it is a little bit cheeky for the Deputy Mayor to reference Purder in his report, and perhaps he would like to reflect on that and apologise for his behaviour.
Councillor.
Thank you for that. Am I on? Thank you for that. Firstly, I'd like to congratulate Andy MacDonald on being re-elected in Middlesbrough, as he did on the evening. These elections bring out a lot of work, effort and time. So to see somebody manage to hold on to a seat at such difficult times was well done to Andy. So please express those congratulations again. In terms of the childish references you've made around Purder, I think as a leader of the Labour Party locally, you would have a little bit more integrity in terms of how you've conducted yourself and your statement. I think the reality of the points that you've made are that there was absolutely nothing to be heard. There was conversations that I had with other officers in terms of some of the distribution, and it all fell within the guidelines that I was following. There was no issue, difficulty or ramifications in terms of anything that I had to do. So congratulations to the Labour Party for holding on to your seat. I just hope and wish that yourself, Councillor Story, conduct yourself a little bit better going forward. Thank you.
Right. Next question. It's for Councillor Davidson, and the question is for Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Chair. Does the executive member agree with me that the Council's Staying Put agency should be congratulated for being shortlisted in the Local Government Chronicle Awards 2020 for Team of the Year? Is this not further evidence that we have great staff here in Middlesbrough Council?
Thank you for that comment. Yes, I would like to congratulate the Staying Put agency on being the final 7 in this prestige event. They go down to London in March, and there's 3 people have to go from that and have to make a presentation, and then we'll find out how well they've done. But I would like to congratulate all the staff that work at the Staying Put agency, and thank you for that comment. Thank you.
Next question is for Councillor McCabe. It's from Councillor Arundel.
Right, thank you, Chair. It's item 5 on Councillor McCabe's report, and it's the Transporter Bridge. I believe the Transporter Bridge has been closed since July, safety issues regarding structural problems with the bridge. I find that quite concerning, given that 8 years ago that bridge was thoroughly overhauled as part of it, the commemorating the opening of that bridge, the centenary of it. I think it's very worrying that they've found major structural problems, having all that money being spent at that time on renovating the bridge. Having said that, I'd like to know, is it possible, or when can you tell me the bridge is likely to be opened again? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. As you stated, the bridge was closed in July. This was because the suspension wires carrying the gondola were found to be stretched and they need to be replaced. Unfortunately, the staff we employed weren't trained to do this, so we had to get in external contractors. Whilst we were doing that, we've took over the audit and the maintenance programme, which was part owned by us and Stockton Council. And in that, we've found some structural defects within some members of the steelwork that had been attached years ago by welding. Now, as an engineer myself, you try and replace with the same method. Now, we couldn't put rivets in, but you could have put high-strength tensile grip bolts in. You put welds in on a structure that will move and contract through linear contraction. Them welds will eventually break. If they'd bolted it, you would have had a bit of movement and we wouldn't have a problem with structural defects. We're currently awaiting a report from the auditors and the safety people, and we should be expecting that. It should be now, but with Christmas coming up, we will get that in the new year, so we should have some good news in the new year that the bridge will be safe to be opened in the new year. Okay, Councillor?
Right, the next question is again for Councillor McCabe, and this time it's from Councillor Thompson. Do you wish to waive it? Yeah. Right. Okay, next question is for Councillor Hobson, and this is from Councillor Branston.
Morning. Question I have relates to the Unclaimed Benefit Campaign Hub Service Programme. I noticed that there are 5 community hubs that provide a hub advice service, and I just wondered if you could possibly let me know which of those hubs are actually involved in the scheme, please.
Councillor Brownson, I believe they're all involved in the scheme. I do believe that people go to the hubs on a regular basis and they go around the different hubs. So there will be a day when they are involved in the scheme. But can I just say that this is a fantastic scheme. It has brought in a lot of money into Middlesbrough itself from the government. It has helped so many people with getting them the benefits that they should get. And they have just been a tremendous amount to the residents out there. So I would personally like to say thank you to all those people who've worked on this. I mean, it's a thing where a lot of agencies come together and they all do really work hard together to try and get as many people involved, and hopefully it just goes on from strength to strength. Thank you.
Yes, David, as long as it's relevant to
It is relevant. Yes, I think it's an excellent scheme, and I think I agree this is something we need to see throughout the town. The question really was, that I wanted to follow up on, is whether in fact this actually happens at the centre in Colbinewham.
I don't know, Councillor Branson, but I will check on that and make sure that we can get somebody in to Colbinewham if possible. Thank you.
Right, the next question, and there's 2 of them, are for Councillor Walters, and the first one is from Councillor Arundel.
Thank you, Chair. And it's about the Northern School of Art, which I believe is on towards the rear of our executive member's report. I look forward very much to the opening of the new college, which I feel is in an excellent location in the town centre, bringing the footfall of 725 students plus the staff to the town centre, which is really good news. Further to that, I would like to say its proximity to the bus station justifies those of us that fought to retain that excellent facility as it puts transport for those students right on the doorstep. My question is, will this facility be delivered as anticipated in September 2021? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Arundel. Totally agree with you. Absolutely fantastic news from Middlesbrough that the Northern School of Art has come to the centre of town. We are anticipating that it is on schedule right now to be opening in September 21.
Right. You've remembered your question. Okay, go on, go back to it. It was for Councillor McCabe, and the subject was environment.
Thank you, Chair. Can I just ask Councillor McCabe, how many trees have been planted and which area have they been planted in? To go in line with the Mayor's vision about 10,000 trees going to be planted in the area. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. At the moment, we've got funding for 1,200. The first tree was planted on Ayrsham Gardens last week. Was a good photo opportunity. But we've got a plan, and we're starting in the east of the town, working our way across west at the moment. Is that good enough information?
How many trees have been planted today? Did you say 1,000?
We're going to start in the new year 1,200. No, not yet. We've planted one, and we're going to start in the new year. But if you want to join me tomorrow at Newfield Crescent, we're going to plant 200 tomorrow. Yeah. Thank you.
Hi, is this on? I just want to add to that about the 10,000 trees. Listen, it's absolutely critical that we do something about the environment, and the ambition and the plan to plant 10,000 trees. Some people scoffed at that. But what's more important is that we don't cost council taxpayers a penny to do this. And I'm so pleased that some of our brilliant staff won £500,000 worth of grants to plant trees, mature trees, 1,200 of them, and it's not going to cost the council taxpayers a penny. So we planted one as a promotion last week, 1,200 mature trees starting East Middlesbrough in January. There'll be another X thousand very soon after that, but we're trying to do it without spending any money. We're being really careful about money. But we've got more plans to plant more. We want to do more and more and more. We want to set national standards. So watch this space. We're going to be cleaner and greener and set national standards for the environment. Thanks.
Thank you. Right, last questions for Councillor Walters again, and this is from Councillor Furness.
Thank you, Chair. It's just regarding the electric charge points that are going to be placed in various car parks and around the town. I just query the usage of the super fast chargers. Are they necessary? And I agree that we need them, and I think we should be rolling out more across the town in council-owned car parks. But I just query the reason why we have 250 kilowatt, because they're things that will charge within half an hour, when people are going to be parking a car and they could be parking it all day. So car parks for that only need 7 watt, or maybe the 50 watt. Just a question.
Thank you, Councillor Furness. Yep, totally agree. We need charging points across Teesside. I sit on the committee for the TVCA for transport as well, and it's something that they've done consultations, and it is something that's in need. It is being funded. I believe the TVCA are helping us towards that as well. So it's something that, yes, they are needed. Yes, there is people that will nip into town and out of town as well. So if it gives them the facility to nip in and out of town, I do think it is needed. And there is cars that will charge in that time. It means that we're working with the environment. I know that the high charging points, but at the same time, we need to provide the facility for people coming in and out of town.
Right, that's the end of the executive questions. We'll go on to item agenda number 7, which is the report of the Overview and Scrutiny Board. Councillor Thompson, will you present this?
Chair. Discussions at scrutiny panels has been restricted due to PERDA. All members have received a copy of the report, and that I request that it be noted. Thanks, Chair.
Anybody got any questions for Councillor Thompson on that? Take my glasses off so I can see. No? Nobody, right. Continuing on, agenda item 8, the medium-term financial plan and budget savings proposals. Mr Mayor, over to you.
Hi. Okay, right. So we need to do stuff here. We need to do something. We're forced to make about £14 million worth of savings. The good news is that much of that has been solved internally, and it won't affect frontline services, but there is a gap. Now, there are 2 or 3 ways to bridge the gap in our budget, and we have to bridge it. We have to be solvent. We can either cut services a lot and leave council tax unchanged, and some people might like that. We can either put council tax up to the maximum, almost 4%, and we could protect all the services that the public see day to day and all the jobs. Or we could do something in the middle where we basically put council tax up by about 2%, which is less than neighbouring boroughs, but we're forced to make some savings. I'm proposing that we go down the middle route. I haven't decided. I'm still looking, I'm still reading, I'm still listening to staff, and I really want to listen to the public. And what we're doing now, I think today or tomorrow, we're launching the biggest public consultation exercise in the history of Middlesbrough. Everybody who's got an opinion, whether it's an intelligent, well-formed opinion or a stupid idea, everybody can input what they think. They're going to see stuff pop up on Facebook, they're going to see stuff in the Gazette, they're going to see stuff on all kinds of social media. And we really want them to comment. No cuts are ever popular, and certainly in the last 2 weeks, 10 days, I've been deluged with messages from people saying 2 things. The first thing they're saying is they don't want a council tax rise, and the second thing they want is better services. And that seems to be the common theme. Well, sadly, that's absolutely categorically impossible in the short term. In the medium term, maybe we can find a way. If we can grow our income, we might well be able to start reducing our council tax and providing better services. But as I stand here today, we're in a spot, and we've only got 3 options. So, details are coming very soon on recommendations from me for discussion and examination. I want to listen to the public, I want to listen to members, but at the end of the day, it's my decision. And I've got a track record of listening, but not doing what people want, because I'll only do what is absolutely the best thing for Middlesbrough. Thanks.
Can you take questions? Sure. Anybody got any questions for the Mayor? Just the one? 2? Councillor Story?
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I think the Mayor's absolutely right. This is a hugely important task. Obviously, the budget's one of the most important, if not the most important thing we do every year. And we've had a lot of experience now, over 9 years, of having to find significant cuts. One of the things I would remind everybody is that none of us, I don't care what your political viewpoint is, none of us got into politics to do this. None of us are sitting here desperate to cut services or increase people's council tax. Far from it. What we'd like to do is, as the Mayor says, we'd like to give people as low council tax as possible and the best services possible. And unfortunately, partly, and if not entirely, due to the settlement we get from the central government, we can't do that. So we have to make tough choices. I think it's a bit disingenuous to say that it's a choice between council tax increases and service cuts, because even if we increase council tax by the maximum, there would still have to be some service cuts. We would have to look at services in a different way, and we'd have to make cuts. Those things are not mutually exclusive. We have to do a bit of both. And I know that the Mayor's already said that there's no point in complaining about the cuts, and there's no point in complaining about service cuts to our budget here. But I think there is a point in complaining, and I think the lollipop ladies whose jobs are under threat would say there's a point in complaining. I think that the cleaning services, the people whose jobs are going to be outsourced to private companies perhaps, I think those people would say there is a reason for us to complain, and there's a reason why as elected members we should stand up on behalf of those people and say that it is not okay that we get the services that we do from the government. We get the money that we do from the government because it's not enough, and it means that those people's jobs are under threat, and it means those people's working conditions are under threat. And I was at a protest this morning with the Member of Parliament and others, standing up on behalf of those working people and saying that in the discussions on the budget, we want to stand up for people's working conditions and pay and make sure that people's jobs are not threatened wherever possible. And that's what we want to do going forward. 50% of our budget has been cut since 2010. The most deprived communities in this country have had their budget gutted by this government, and it's going to be 5 more years of that. And we are never going to stop talking about that, because there is a point to complaining, because people need to see us standing up on their behalf and saying that we do not accept what we are given from central government and like it. We say no, we say we want better. And that's really important, that we aspire to say to the people of Middlesbrough, we may have to make these tough decisions and we may vote on budgets that people don't like, but it does not mean that we acquiesce and that we say that is just an unfortunate reality, because these are political decisions taken on a political basis in order to damage places like Middlesbrough, in order to undermine our services, and it is not okay. I'm going to wrap up now. I'm just going to say,
You've run out of time.
I'm just going to say that I think it's really important that we get involved in this consultation process. My door is always open to the Mayor. He's not made any overtures as yet about discussing the budget, but my door is always open, and I'm sure as we go forward, we'll get a better picture of how we can balance the budget and make sure we protect people's jobs and livelihoods.
Okay, right, okay. So, this is the situation we're in. We've had 30 years of decline in this town. That 30 years, the same group of people in power, 30 years of the place going to the dogs, the same rhetoric. Do you know what the rhetoric is? It's not our fault. The wicked government, the wicked this, blame them, blame him, blame her. Now is where we start to take responsibility. I am not going to stand here and pretend that we can solve this and everyone's going to be happy, because we're not. Things are tough, and we're going to fight, and we're going to come out of it much stronger. We're going to make steps forward, and we're going to be in a much stronger financial position for the first time in 30 years. Don't listen to the political rhetoric.
Councillor Rooney, you wish to speak? You've got 2 minutes, Councillor.
I won't take that long, Chair. Thank you. Mine are just some very technical points, really. I think all of the emotion's been delivered. The first, in the report, it talks about consultation with the groups within the council. That's correct. The consultation was carried out. However, it was on the basis of a 1.99 increase in the base rate. Therefore, the information we were presented with is not the same as has come out in this report. So I'm not sure whether we would have made any different statements, but I think that should be made clear. On the proposal, or one of the proposals, not to increase the base rate, but only to attach the 2%, which is for adult social care. That is not for other services. It's got to be spent on adult social care, which is a huge, huge cost to the authority. I would like the consultation documents, when they come out, to express the cumulative impact of not having that 1.99% on years 2 and 3, so we can see in effect what that actually means. And my third and final point is the amount of extra money that we've been given this year. We know it was a sweetener, we know it was electioneering. It's very welcome, we'll take it and we'll spend it. I would like to know how much that extra funding is in terms of pounds and percentage of the budget that's being presented to us, so we can see what the impact of not having that in years 2 and 3. If they give us it, brilliantly. If they don't, because it's a one-off, and to be honest, I do not trust this government to come forward with any extra funding, then I would like to see those figures in the budget consultation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. So we're getting just over 3 million quid from the government this year. Extra money, new money. It's nowhere near enough to cover the savings we're having to make. As a percent, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but that's where we are. But I want to make a point again, is that for years, literally all of my adult life, I've heard, in this case it's the Labour Party, but in other places it's other parties, saying the same old stuff. We have to take responsibility, stand up for ourselves and fight, because nobody else is going to do it. It doesn't matter whether the Labour are in power, the Tories are in power, we never prosper. And it's because we blame other people. We need to stand up and fight, and this is where we start doing it.
We'll take one last question. We'll take the councillor at the back.
Is it possible for me to have a quick word?
We'll let the councillor speak first, then you can.
Thanks, Chair. In the spirit of Christmas, I'd like to extend a positive comment towards the Mayor and say that you are an excellent communicator, particularly on social media. I think you sell yourself short quite a bit in terms of what your role is. You're right. We all want to work hard and we all want to provide a town and a city eventually that actually is as self-sustaining as possible. Absolutely. What I've found being a new councillor is that there's a lot of misconceptions that people have in terms of how councils work. I hear the comment a lot that I pay council tax, so why, for example, are we going to have fortnightly bin collections? I think as part of the consultation that you're looking to do, it's a good opportunity to actually educate people that council tax doesn't actually fund the full range of council services. Council funding has been cut, whereas council responsibilities has grown quite considerably. These are important issues that we do need to educate people on to fully explain the context of where we are. So, I just would like to make that point that actually it's not about just getting on with it. We are elected, and we're elected to be a voice of the people of Middlesbrough, and part of that is educating them and actually giving them the full picture and making it clear why choices are having to be made. But also, as Councillor Story did say, the Conservatives are now in power with a big majority. There's a new deal that could be on the table, and I do think that you are the biggest and strongest voice in this room. You do need to get on with the job, absolutely, but you need to champion the voices of the people of Middlesbrough. Thank you.
Thank you, Stefan. I agree with all of that. Thanks.
Councillor Cooper, you wanted to say something?
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Mr MacDonald for becoming the MP. Secondly, I'd like to say congratulations to Mr Story, Councillor Story, for being Labour leader in this chamber, and also for working for Mr MacDonald. Can I ask you now, Councillor, in your position, will you ask Mr MacDonald to request any funding that's available for Middlesbrough people? I don't see we should be in opposite sides here. Just simply ask him if he will ask for...
The questions are on the Mayor's report in respect to the medium-term financial plan. If we can keep it to those, please. And in terms of the questions that are being asked, if they can just be asked on any statements that are made today or on the report rather than actually anything else that could be involved in terms of the consultation. That's the opportunity to effectively raise those issues during that process.
Councillor Hobson?
I just think that we've got to realise that we are where we are. We're not going to get any more money. At the end of the day, if we actually go and ask for more money and put pressure on the government, we're not going to get it this year. We have to look at the money that we've got now, and we all know when Labour were in government, we actually got money thrown at Middlesbrough, but what happened to it? It was wasted, absolutely wasted.
Councillor,
I've just made the point about if we can stick to the questions in relation to the comments that the Mayor has made in relation to his report on the medium-term financial plan, and any other matters can be dealt with through the consultation process. Thank you.
Right, so can everybody agree that we've all noted this report? Now we shall carry on with the agenda. Agenda item 9, urgent items. There were none. Agenda item 10, members' question time. Councillor Branson, you have a question for the Mayor.
The question is, in view of the unwillingness of bus operators to cross-subsidise services and the inability of local authorities to provide any subsidy themselves, could the Mayor explain what steps he could take to improve public transport provision in the Middlesbrough area?
Okay, thank you, David. Right, so I keep mentioning my age, don't I? But I'll go back in time. When I was 17, I used to get the Cleveland Transit bus. Remember them, the green ones? And it would run from the Bluebell into town. It was 50 pence. And it was absolutely brilliant. Regular as clockwork. I'd be into town, usually a bit late for a date or meet some mates or something like that. And the buses, the difference was, the buses were packed. Everyone was smoking upstairs, I think, back in those days. But the buses were absolutely packed, and there were loads of them. Right now, what I see, and I don't use them, but when I'm walking up and down Linthorpe Road, I see very few buses, and they're empty. Something's gone really wrong. I know they're really expensive. I know that part of the justification for that is that the bus operators need to charge more because so few people use them. It's dysfunctional, and an intervention is needed. I don't have an easy answer, but I'll tell you what we've been working on. First of all, since the election in May 2019, a range of consultations, conversations, examinations have gone on. I'm no expert at this, David, but ideas that were formed initially before the election, things like creating super stops, that's pressing ahead. We want to take the bus station and make it better, modernise it. I love the bus station. It's the biggest and best for 50 miles. And long may that continue, but it is old and it's tired and we need to improve it. So there's a plan forming for that. And we're working with the combined authority to get their input. We love their ideas, but most of all, we love their money. So we want some cash from them. So we're working on that. So that's what we're working on. I know you're passionate about it because you care about it and you represent people who live 5 miles away from the town centre. So if you want to come and see me and have follow-up conversations, I'd gladly take input and advice from you. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor.
Where's that?
As long as it's on the subject, yeah.
It is on the subject, yeah. I think that the key thing is, yes, the public transport's in a very poor situation. We had the report from the Tees Valley Strategic Transport Plan, which shows that although the average for Teesside is that fewer people have cars than the national average, more people travel to work by car in the Tees Valley because they don't have effective public transport. And that is certainly noticeable in the area I live in the south of Middlesbrough. So what I would like to ask the Mayor if he would do, we believe here that some form of franchising system is the best way in which we can improve the public transport in the Tees area. That's something we would like you to bring up with the Tees Valley Mayor, because we think that if you did introduce a system like this, it would improve the situation for transport. And I would ask if you would be prepared to do that when you next see him. Thank you.
Yes, in principle. Come and see me and give me more info, and I'll do that.
Thank you very much. Under item agenda number 11, notice of motions. There wasn't any. Notice of urgent motions. Item agenda 12. There wasn't any of them either. Agenda item number 13. Interim terms of reference for chief officer appointments, committee, council committees and outside bodies, allocation of places and memberships 2019. I invite the Deputy Monitoring Officer to introduce this.
Yes, this is a report of the Monitoring Officer in respect of the interim terms of reference for Chief Officer Appointments Committee and Council Committee outside bodies, allocation of places. The purpose of, or the proposal is that, or to seek members' approval for the interim changes to the Chief Officer's Appointment Committee terms of reference. And the second part will be to agree appointments arising from vacancies and resignations from committees and outside bodies. Currently, there is no process for dealing with joint authority appointments at director level and above. Therefore, it is proposed that the Chief Officer Appointments Committee are delegated the powers to undertake this role, and that a panel be selected from this committee to sit on an interview panel with other authorities. Whilst there is an imminent appointment for the Director of Public Health looming, the proposed process will be used for any other such appointments that may arise during the review. The terms of the panel are set out in the report itself. So first of all, I want to look at the recommendation, and it's firstly in respect of the interim terms of reference for Chief Officers Appointments Committee. It is recommended that the Council approves those. So we're going to take a vote on that. So all those in favour? Sorry, all those in favour of the recommendation that the council approves the interim appointments?
Twenty-six, 28, 29, 31.
31. And those against? So that's 31 for, none against. The second part of this report was in respect of the vacancies. They are subject to the nominations to the following committee vacancies, and the nominations be approved. There is a vacancy or two vacancies on the Corporate Parenting Board, and we're looking for one Mika nomination. So it's open to anyone, so therefore there are two vacancies, so there are two vacancies now open to all councillors. That's on the Corporate Parenting Board. Councillor Walker. Any other nominations? We'll bring that one back. Sorry. There's a nomination for Councillor Nugent. So that's Councillor Walker and Councillor Nugent are agreed. The South Tees Joint Health Scrutiny Committee, there's one vacancy for the Mika group. So no nominations from the Mika group. It's open to the floor. Any nominations for the South Tees Joint Health Scrutiny Committee? Councillor Coop is nominated and seconded. The next vacancy is Teesside Pension Fund Committee. There is one vacancy open to all members. Any nominations? Councillor Purvis and Councillor Bell. Any other nominations? Okay, so we'll vote on that then. All those in favour of Councillor Purvis? And all those in favour of Councillor Bell? Councillor Bell wins on votes of 20 to 14. Next, it's recommended that the subject to receipt of nominations for the following outside body vacancies, nominations be approved. The first vacancy is with Tennis World. There is one vacancy and it's open to all members. Are there any nominations? Councillor Davison. Any other nominations?
No.
No. Councillor Davison takes that vacancy. The next vacancy is on Durham Tees Valley Airport Limited. There's one vacancy for a substitute, and that's open to all members. Are there any nominations? Councillor Furness. No other nominations? Okay, so I have a vote then. So those in favour of Councillor Cooper, please raise your hand. And those in favour of Councillor Furness. Councillor Cooper takes the vacancy on votes of 21 to 14. The next vacancy is the Durham, Darlington, Teesside, Hambleton, Richmondshire and Whitby STP Joint Committee. There's one vacancy. It's open to all members. Do we have any nominations? No nominations, we'll bring it back.
Next week.
Okay, we'll bring that one back. And that concludes that report, Chair.
Thank you very much. Right, we'll go on now to agenda item 14, Council change of date and extraordinary meeting. Once again, invite the Deputy Monitoring Officer to present the report.
Thank you, Chair. This is a report to request that members note the change of date for the 4th of March 2020 Council meeting, which will be changed to the 6th of March 2020 at 7 p.m. And also to advise that an extraordinary Council meeting has been arranged for the 26th of February 2020 at 7 p.m. to consider the budget.
Can that be noted by everybody? Right. Agenda item 15, which is a Local Government Act, a request for exemption from attendance at council meetings by Councillor Smith. Once again, I'll invite the Deputy Monitoring Officer to read the report.
This report is to consider the request from Councillor Smith for an exemption from attendance at council meetings as required by Section 85(1) of the Local Government Act 1972. Requests, for a bit of background, request for exemptions from attendance at council meetings requires full council approval. Councillor Smith has formally requested the authority to grant the request for an exemption with regard to attendance at council meetings until the conclusion of external proceedings which are anticipated to commence on the 1st of June 2020. For information, the Act sets out that a person or a member will cease to be a member of the authority if they fail to attend any meetings of the authority or any other meeting as a representative of the council, and they have been absent for a period of 6 consecutive months from the date of their last attendance. Their absence is not due to some reason approved by the authority before the expiry of that period. Therefore, the approval by the authority to grant a request with regard to attendance at council meetings must be before the expiry of 6 months. His request has been lodged before the expiry of 6 months, and it is now down to the full council to take a vote on whether or not to grant the request or not to grant the request. So I will ask for you all to vote on whether vote on granting the request.
Mr. Branson, you wish to say something?
Okay, before we vote then, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I feel it's important to mention something on this as I'm one of the councillors for Colby-Newham. And of course, David Smith is a councillor for Colby-Newham who effectively has not been operating almost since he was elected. It does appear to me that it's important that we do have representation, full representation from Colby-Newham ward. It's a very large ward. It seems to be that Councillor Smith could have made an attempt to attend at least one of the meetings of the council. Seems to have attended none. The other thing is, I can't see any evidence of him attending meetings within the ward, so you've not seen him at the last, many of the community council meetings ever since this issue arose. And to me, it seems he's not doing his job. So I would honestly say it's about time that we did have somebody else to represent Colby-Newham that is going to do that job properly. And that's the reason I think it's important to make this point.
Thank you, David. Right, we'll go to the vote now. All those in favour of giving David Smith exemption from attendance and council meetings, please raise their hand. All those against giving him exemption, please raise their hand. Unanimous. Right.
That's a unanimous decision
It is.
not to grant the request.
Yes.
That's the last report of the monitoring officer, and I'd just like to wish you all a Merry Christmas.
Right, thank you very much. That concludes the meeting.
Do you want the mayor to mention about those reports for the next meeting?
No, we'll leave it. We'll formally close the meeting, but before we go, I would like to wish everybody Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we'll see you all in 2020.